With its stimulating effects, it's easy to understand why coffee is the second most traded commodity on Earth after oil. For many, it keeps us awake and moving through our busy days. But how does it work? What exactly does coffee do to your brain? Whenever you're awake, a chemical called adenosine slowly accumulates in your brain, and this adenosine binds to receptors which slow down brain activity. Ultimately, the more adenosine there is, the more tired your brain feels, which makes sense as the longer you're awake, the more fatigued you become. Conversely, while you sleep, the concentration of adenosine declines, gradually promoting wakefulness. But it turns out that the caffeine in your coffee is incredibly similar to adenosine in structure. The caffeine works its way through your bloodstream and into your brain, where it starts to compete and binds with adenosine receptors. But because it's not adenosine, the sleepiness effect isn't felt. Adenosine can no longer bind, meaning its calming properties are diminished, which is great for you when you're feeling tired. However, with long-term use of caffeine, your brain responds by creating more adenosine receptors, which means more caffeine is required to elicit the same response. It also means that when you try to quit drinking coffee or miss your daily intake, you might experience some withdrawal symptoms and feel more tired than you would have before you ever drank coffee. But the caffeine doesn't stop there. It also stimulates the production of adrenaline, you know, the fight or flight hormone. This increases your heart rate, gets your blood pumping, and even opens up your airways. Furthermore, it affects dopamine levels by preventing its reabsorption in the brain, which makes you feel happy. In fact, this is the exact same thing that cocaine does, just to a lesser degree. It's a drug after all. This dopamine stimulation is also the aspect of coffee that makes it moderately addictive. So, can you drink too much coffee? It turns out there is a lethal dose of caffeine, which is somewhere around 150 milligrams of caffeine per kilogram of your body. This means if you weigh 70 kilograms, you would require 14,000 milligrams of caffeine to overdose. Put into perspective, an average cup of coffee contains roughly 150 milligrams of caffeine, meaning if you're 70 kilograms, approximately 70 cups of coffee would kill you. However, you'd have to drink those cups all at once, making it effectively impossible to overdose on caffeine from coffee, since you wouldn't be able to physically fit that much in your stomach. You would also start experiencing mania and hallucinations before getting to this point. Caffeine also has a half-life of around 6 hours, so if you drank a standard coffee with around 150 milligrams of caffeine, after about 6 hours there'll only be 75 milligrams left in your system and you'll be feeling half of the effect. And 6 hours after that, you'll have 37.5 milligrams, leaving more room for adenosine to jump back into action, which is why you may reach for another cup throughout the day to maintain that glorious, alert, and energetic feeling. So drink up and enjoy the buzz.
The struggle is real when it comes to caffeine addiction. Everyone already knows there's caffeine in your morning coffee, but you may be surprised to find it in a whole bunch of other drinks, foods, and medications as well. And while it's a widely consumed legal stimulant, there are still health risks and uncomfortable symptoms associated with having a dependency. Here are some signs to look out for if you think you may be addicted to caffeine.
Enjoying my coffee.
Lethargic much? One of the telltale signs of caffeine dependence is the unshakable lethargy you feel when you go without it. Going to work sluggish, cancelling plans with friends and loved ones due to fatigue, and not feeling motivated to participate in your usual activities are all indicators of withdrawal. If missing that morning cup of Java leaves you tired and lacking energy, you might be addicted to caffeine. Since many habitual coffee drinkers use caffeine as an aid for starting the day or as a refresher in the afternoon, it comes as no surprise that their energy levels dip dramatically when they don't get that regular intake. According to CNN Health, quitting caffeine can mean losing the psychological energy boost that drinking coffee provides. Pounding headaches. Since the primary cause of caffeine-related headaches has to do with the withdrawal from the substance, oftentimes the pain can be eased, ironically, by consuming more caffeine. Of course, if you get to a point in which you need to have more of something just to stave off pain, you're probably aware you may have a bit of a problem. As people who consume only small amounts of caffeine daily don't tend to suffer debilitating headaches when they pull back, you might consider gradually cutting back on coffee, sodas, and teas that contain caffeine.
Can you take half of the regular version of the coffee and mix it with half of the decaffeinated version? Or is that just too weird a thing?
Gonna puke? If you are indeed addicted to caffeine and suddenly go without, you may experience physical symptoms of withdrawal. The strange, uneasy feeling like you may need to vomit ASAP is one indicator of an unhealthy dependency on caffeine. On the other hand, drinking coffee in and of itself can be the cause of your nausea. While having coffee in small amounts can be fine, overconsumption can make you feel sick to your stomach. Depression. According to the Mayo Clinic, there's an indirect connection between caffeine consumption and depression. Since excessive intake of caffeine can prevent people from getting the proper amount of sleep, their moods may be affected adversely, contributing to feelings of depression. If you're already addicted to caffeine, stopping your coffee habit cold turkey can also add to your depressed state. Studies have shown that people who already suffer from mood disorders such as anxiety and depression may want to steer clear of caffeine altogether. Muscle problems. You know that all-over achy feeling you get when you're coming down with the flu? According to the Wall Street Journal, similar types of muscle pain, cramping, and stiffness can occur when you've become addicted to caffeine and try to pull back from it. Normal activities that you take for granted, like walking and light exercise, might start to feel strenuous and burdensome during caffeine withdrawal. Mood swings. Since caffeine is a legal substance found in beverages you can easily purchase, it can be easy to forget that caffeine is still an addictive stimulant, and it can affect your moods tremendously. People who are dependent on their daily intake suffer greatly when they don't get their fix, so to speak. As The Nest pointed out, if you are addicted, you may find that over time, you need more and more caffeine to remain stable.